My name's Illeane Rodgers and I'm a web-based student currently studying via distance education in New South Wales. I'm currently going into my second year of university and this is my presentation for EDC1200 Self-Education and Society. How might education mediate difference and dominance? The event that I have chosen to be the focus of this presentation is from a newspaper article in the Hobart Mercury by Sue Neils, titled Call to Move Australia Day, published on January the 27th, 2009. Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre State Secretary Nala Mansell McKenna told a protest rally in front of the Parliament House that reasonable thinking Australians had to realise that holding Australia Day on the 26th of January was a racist act. There can never be reconciliation between white and Aboriginal Australians while Australia Day is celebrated on January 26th, Miss Mansell McKenna said in the Mercury. Indigenous leader, human rights advocate and 2009 Australian of the Year, Professor Mick Dodson, called for Australia Day to be moved while accepting his award from Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. The following video is from a news clip from 7 News.
End of the year, Professor Mick Dodson wants to talk about moving Australia Day to another day. He says many of his people won't ever be able to celebrate a date they refer to as Survival Day. 7 political reporter Andrew Green is following the reaction.
Yes, good morning, Anne. Mick Dodson's selection as Australian of the Year has come as no surprise. He was one of the shortest priced favourites on record to win Australian of the Year. Now, Mick has been a tireless advocate for Indigenous rights, leading the reconciliation push, and he's promised to use his new title to continue his advocacy work. One of his early suggestions is to look at changing the date of Australia Day. He suggested that the country should have a national conversation about whether January 26 is appropriate.
You know, I'm sensitive to people, and particularly Indigenous people, who feel that the 26th of January is not quite the right date because it's the date when, as far as Indigenous Australians are concerned, it's the day in which, our country was taken from us.
More than 150 members and supporters of the Tasmanian Aboriginal community joined the protest march through the near-deserted streets of Hobart. Carrying 3 coffins, the protesters called for an end to the celebration of Australia's National Day on January the 26th. As I researched this event, I started to notice that when I typed in Australia Day into the search engine on the internet, the majority of the photos that resulted were white Australians, and typical stereotypes of Australia was displayed. In my search, hardly any of the images were of Indigenous Australians. This made me think, what does it mean to be Australian? How can this article be brought into the classroom to teach about difference within our society? The main topic which I would focus on is the idea of difference. That difference is not deficit, that it is just different. As an introduction to difference, or a warm-up activity, I would have photos of people of different nationalities and ask the students what is different about each one. What characteristics does each person have that makes them different? In a group, I would ask the students some questions about difference. What makes someone different? Is it their clothes and their appearance? What does being Australian mean? Is someone of different colour classified not Australian? Why or why not? I would ask the students to look at the person next to them. What makes them different from you? Do you have different hair colour, eyes or skin from them? I would then go on to discuss what makes someone Australian. I would get the students in groups of 3 or 4 and ask them to write down or draw what they think being Australian involves. We would then discuss our results as a group, discussing the differences between each group's results while explaining that even though each group's results may be different, it does not mean it's wrong or un-Australian. The students could then go on to learn about the many different nationalities of people who live in Australia, such as the Indigenous Australians, Muslims, Asians, Europeans and Indians. We could look at the differences between each nationality and how we all live together within Australia. From these learning activities, I want the students to understand that there are many nationalities that make up Australia, and you don't have to look a certain way to be classified as Australian. I want the students to gain an understanding that difference is normal and to treat everyone as equals.
'Cause we are one, but we are many, and from all lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one.